You open Bukhari, Muslim.
Sheikh Salem Al Aamry of
These are his
UAE.
sayings. And Allah protected the Sunnah as He protected the Quran. The meaning from Allah and the phrasing from the Prophet ﷺ. So the Sunnah is a revelation from Allah. Brothers and sisters in Islam, the topic for today is the status of Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And before we start elaborating upon the status of the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, we need to know what's the meaning of Sunnah first of all. So the definition of Sunnah linguistically, lexically, it means way. The Sunnah means way from the linguistic perspective. So when we say Sunnat al-Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we mean the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But technically, the definition of Sunnah as defined by the Muslim scholars, they're saying the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all his sayings, the sayings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all his actions, and all his approvals. All his sayings and all his actions and approvals. What does this mean? The things the Prophet ﷺ said, that is Sunnah, what he said. And what he did also, the things that he practiced, also Sunnah. And the things that he approved of, he sanctioned. Things happened in front of him and he kept quiet. That means if he kept quiet, the Prophet ﷺ will never keep quiet about something wrong happening in front of him. So if something happened in front of him, and we're going to talk about this, and he kept quiet, that means he approves of it. He sanctions it. Having said this, now that the Sunnah, the sayings of the Prophet ﷺ, the actions of the Prophet ﷺ, and the approvals of the Prophet ﷺ. So the Sunnah, how many types of Sunnah we have? We have 4 types. We have 4 types of Sunnah. The sayings, which we call Sunnah Qawliya, what the Prophet ﷺ said, like the Ahadith. You open Bukhari, Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ said, the Prophet ﷺ said, these are his sayings. So this is Sunnah. But which type of Sunnah? Sunnah Qawliya, the oral sayings, the oral Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. We have Sunnah Fi'liya, the things that he did. He showed us how to pray. He said, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Pray as you have seen me praying. Learn your rituals of Hajj from me. Khudhu anni manasikakum. How he performed the Hajj, the things that he did in the Hajj. These are actions of the Prophet ﷺ. Are you following me, brothers and sisters? Clear? Now, also we have Sunnah, the approvals of the Prophet ﷺ. The approvals. Something happened in front of him and he kept quiet. Like what? Like, for instance, eating a sort of reptiles, type of reptiles, lizard. It's one type of lizard. We call it in Arabic dab. Dab. This reptile or dab was brought to the Prophet ﷺ and it was roasted and it was put on the table. The Prophet ﷺ was nearly going to touch it. Then they told him this is dab, so he left it. He didn't eat it. Khalid ibn al-Walid radiallahu anhu was sitting. He said immediately, "O Prophet of Allah, is it haram?" He said, "No, but I don't like it." It is not haram, but I don't like it. Khalid said, immediately I dragged it, I pulled it, and I started eating it in front of the Prophet ﷺ. He was watching me while I was eating it. So this, that he approved eating of dab, though he doesn't like it personally. Are you following me? So he approved of something. So if he approved of something, ﷺ, it means it is halal. Because it is impossible that the Prophet ﷺ will approve of something haram. The fourth type of sunnah, which many Muslims don't understand this, is what is called sunnah tarkiyah. Sunnah tarkiyah, which means the things that he abandoned, the things that he didn't do. So things that he didn't do in spite of the need was there and he did not do, this means the sunnah that you don't do it. Like what? By examples, things becomes clearer. You know the Prophet ﷺ, he made adhan for the salah. We have adhan for the salah. But there are some prayers, no adhan. Eid prayer, is there adhan in Eid prayer? He didn't make adhan for the Eid prayer. So he left the adhan for the Eid prayer. So the sunnah now is not to make adhan for the Eid, right? He left the adhan, so we have to leave the adhan. He left the adhan for the eclipse prayer. When there is an eclipse, whether it is lunar or solar eclipse, there's no prayer. There's no adhan. So the sunnah that you should not make adhan. If one now comes and say, we'll make adhan for the Eid, we will say it is bid'ah. We'll say what? It is bid'ah because the Prophet ﷺ, he left the adhan for the Eid and for the eclipse prayer. Are you following me? Is this clear? So the things that the Prophet ﷺ did not do in spite of the need is there to inform the people, to tell them come to the masjid, he didn't make adhan. So we know that the things that he didn't do, it is sunnah that also we should do the same thing. And this type of sunnah, we call it sunnah tarkiyah, or tarki sunnah, or abandoning sunnah. That whatever the Prophet ﷺ forsook, whatever the Prophet ﷺ abandoned, we should not do. It is sunnah that you abstain from it and you don't do it. So how many types we have? 4 types. Now, that is the sunnah, the meaning of sunnah and types of sunnah. A status of sunnah. The sunnah is wahi. The sunnah is revelation from Allah. We have to bear this in mind. Allah said, وَمَا يَنطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. Whatever, the Prophet ﷺ does not speak out of his own hawa, out of his own desire. In huwa illa wahyun yuha. He follows what has been inspired and revealed to him. And the Sahaba at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they used to write whatever he says. And one day, one of the companions said to another one, to a scribe who was writing, don't write everything the Prophet ﷺ said. You know what the Prophet ﷺ said? Write by him in whose hand my soul is, nothing comes out of this except the truth. So the sunnah is a revelation from Allah. And Allah protected the sunnah as he protected the Quran. Because he said, إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. And it is beyond any doubt that the dhikr covers both Quran and sunnah. Though many people tried to fabricate and forge and concoct false ahadith and attribute it to the Prophet ﷺ.